guys. I'm new to making these recordings. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing sometimes. I'm just winging this shit, to be honest with you. You know, it's just how Lita told me to do it. She told me not to overthink shit. She told me to just sit down and start recording. And here I am, just wasting some time. Anyway, so let's just start at the beginning. That's probably the best place to start always. Well, first off, you guys probably need to know right up front. This is very important that I am a raging alcoholic. No lie. I go through these moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm getting clean, never gonna drink again. Go 10 days, go 30 days. I've done 30 days like 3 times in the last year, and then I fall off the wagon and I start drinking again. Usually it starts off with a few beers one night, a few beers another night. Before you know it, I'm carrying around a beer with me all day long for 2 or 3 days. Or sipping from a bottle of tequila. And that's just how it goes, and I fall into this rut, and I say, you know what, I'm just gonna own my alcoholism, I'm just gonna be an alcoholic, and if I can't live without drinking, then what's the point in living sometimes? That's the way I think about it, But I don't want to bore you guys with my crosses to bear. No, these are my albatrosses I gotta wear. And I just wanted to say that up front for several reasons. Really, is some of these recordings in the future, not this one, I might be totally wasted when I do the original recordings, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes it can be very amusing, very awesome. Sometimes it's so great that I can do the recording totally wasted, and then when Lita puts it together with the sound and everything and she plays it back, like I'm hearing it for the first time, because I don't remember doing the recording at all. Now, I've actually never done cocaine. I know that sounds random. I've never done cocaine, but I kind of feel like sometimes, like Stephen King has said, I think, about Cujo. He says he doesn't even remember writing that book. I've actually had those moments with some of the scenes in Paladin. Some of these scenes, it's been a while since I wrote them, years ago, and it's been years since I wrote them, and I probably wrote a bunch of them. I was totally shit-faced, and so sometimes, when we're listening to the audio, re-listening to it, some of the early episodes, and I hear some of those episodes, and I totally don't remember writing half the shit in some of those episodes. In fact, I even look at Lita and I said, did I write that, or did you? And most of the time she says, I wrote it. And then I'll say something like, God damn, I'm a damn good writer. This Patreon stuff that we're starting, there's sort of a theme behind a lot of it, and that theme is don't overthink this shit. And that's one of my biggest problems, is I overthink shit to death, and sometimes I just gotta let shit go, and I can't. I keep wanting to perfect everything, and honestly, I still think there's a lot of room for improvement in the Paladin Cycle series. I do. I really, honest to God, do. I think there's if I could go back and just rewrite the whole thing now and get and just get the whole thing reproduced and relaunch it, I think there's several changes that I would make. However, with all that said and done, I've noticed over the years that every book I read, every TV show I watch, every movie I watch, I can always look for ways that story could have been better, or ways that I could make that story disappoint for me. And I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think there actually is any perfect, great story out there. I think everything is sort of throwing spaghetti sauce at the wall, and I do think some people have a better aim when they're throwing that spaghetti sauce. A lot of people maybe hit closer to the bullseye, but I don't think you can hit the bullseye every single time. I think it was even I think it was George R. R. Martin in a panel or something somewhere who even said, when you're writing a book that's 250,000 words or whatever, uh, you can't get every line right. You cannot get every single word, every single line correct. There's going to be lines that's going to disappoint, that's going to be questionable. And that's maybe the way I gotta look at Paladin cycles, is sometimes I just gotta put my best word forward and just keep telling the goddamn story. Or I think even a bad line, even a bad word, even a bad decision in the story is better than no story. I mean, it's better than me saying, okay, fuck it, I fucked up that line, I fucked up that detail, story over, I'm washing my hands clean of this shit, and I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Gone. Goodbye. Close the door. Turn the lights off. Done. And I can't do that. I cannot do that. I just got to get over the fact that I'm not perfect, I may not even be that great of a storyteller, that great of a writer. I may not be. I've always tried to keep my ego and my ego in check, because I think too much confidence, too much ego is just as bad as no confidence, and you always got to have room in your mind, in your ego, to say, I fucked up, I can do better. And that's all I can do now, is do better going forward. Do better, the next time I make a decision, learn from my mistakes. I don't think you should look at mistakes as I fucked up, even though I do. But I don't think you should. I don't think, mistakes are such a bad thing. I think mistakes can be an educational tool for life. So with that said, with me not overthinking shit, I'm going forward. I am going forward with a couple projects. Mostly this Patreon. I'm going forward though with a sort of a e-zine / hoping it to become a fanzine called the Cosmic Cult, or the Cosmic Cult Reader. Going forward with that, and what it's going to be is it's going to include the first chapters of some Paladin Cycle spin-offs, including the Chronicles of Howard, which is sort of a prequel to Paladin Cycle. It's sort of a prequel to the first volume, Number of the Beast. It goes back about 12 years or so back, when Shane's father, Lloyd Baker, left the family, left Shane and Scooter and his mother after Victoria Baker's death. As you know, if you've made it far enough in the series now, you know that Shane accidentally killed his sister Vicky when she was a little child, and she was playing with Amy in the driveway, and Shane accidentally released the brake on the car, and it rolled back and rolled over her. Chronicles of Howard goes back and pretty much starts almost right at that moment when Vicky died, and it shows the turmoil that Lloyd Baker endured after that event, and it explains the reason that he left his family, why he deserted them. It also explains how he became a seeker, how he became Howard, whom, as you know in the series, he's the one that encounters Atticus after Atticus has a battle with Lynn's mother, the Necilia worm. He's the one that informs Atticus that Shane is most likely the other twin. And so I'm going forward with this story with Chronicles of Howard under the not overthinking it. The not overthinking it principle. I'm going forward with that, and I'm just telling the story. And I have a lot of ideas, just like everything else. I'm a huge idea person, huge sort of, I wouldn't say outliner, but I have a note person. I'm a huge note person. Notes, wikis, character details, possible plot seeds, possible direction settings. And I treat my settings like characters too. I mean, before I even start writing about a particular place, I research, some place that I can base it on, and I bring that setting to life. And one of the settings that's going to be introduced is Illweed, Texas, which is right on the border, Texas and Louisiana. I'm actually originally from Louisiana. I now live in Oklahoma. I've always wanted to move to Texas though, but Illweed, Texas is sort of a swampy, sort of a bayou, kind of marshy type place. It's located, on the border, like I said, of Texas and Louisiana. Closer toward southern Louisiana. I think like near Natchitoches, Louisiana. And anyway, that's one of the big settings in Chronicles of Howard. And basically, what I have in mind for Chronicles of Howard is it kind of turns into a little bit of a backwoods Southern Gothic X-Files type story, where there's these monsters and conspiracies and beings from other dimensions that are actually coming to our world. And Howard Lloyd Baker, who becomes Howard at some point in the series, he stumbles across a lot of this weird monster type stuff and conspiracies and this underground stuff and the stuff that's going on in the backwoods of these small towns. And he ends up, sort of battling it, and he meets a lot of other interesting people and a lot of other interesting characters. And I hope to get enough of the series out there. Either through these Patreon things, or maybe through later on through some public stuff, and I hope to get enough material out there, enough of the chapters out there and content that I can introduce some characters, or a couple characters anyway, that Howard meets in his Chronicles of Howard series, who come back as make cameos in the Paladin Cycle series. So basically, I crossed over some characters from Chronicles of Howard and bring them in to Paladin Cycles. Obviously, Lloyd Baker / Howard, who is already in Buckeye. Obviously, he's going to make more appearances and probably, most likely become more integral to the Paladin Cycle plot in the future. I guess I should explain a little bit about the Seekers in the Paladin Cycle series if it hasn't been explicitly explained yet. And I'll probably include a sort of a wiki entry in one of these Patreon documents soon. The Seekers are basically they're paladins that have defected to go live in the general public. Are there people who have been recruited who are in the general public, and what they do is they blend in. They blend in with modern society, with normal society, normal day-to-day life, but they're spies. They report information back to the Paladin factions, whichever one they report to. They are all of the Seekers. There's bunch of them, but they're all named Howard. They all go by the same name. They all go by Howard. Obviously, it's a reference to Howard Philip Lovecraft. Interesting enough, a little trivia: the first time you meet Howard in the Paladin Cycle series is when Atticus goes to Lovecraft Lane to battle Glenn's mother, who's actually a parasitic worm. He becomes a reoccurring character, the Howard. I like to refer to Lloyd Baker's character, who's Shane's father, as the Howard, because he basically is the main Howard that's in the series, even though there is a lot of others. Eventually, I may get around to writing either a short story or a novella about the last court of heaven and hell. I may get around to writing a novella of The Last Court of Heaven and Hell, which takes place in Jacksonville, Florida. It deals with the apostles of Genesis, with Maynard Rollins and his motorcycle gang, and there's actually there's a seeker there. There's a Howard there who is not Lloyd Baker, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to confuse you guys. So for all intents and purposes, for right now, Howard is Lloyd Baker, Jane's father, the Howard. So this has been my audio journal entry. I'm going to introduce you guys a little bit to me, a little bit to this, a little bit to what's coming in the future with the Patreon, with the stuff we may be offering. I got my work cut out for me, and I hope we can get enough great content on the Patreon that you guys will feel it's worth it to support us, because we really need the support right now. Funds are just nothing. Zilch, crash, burn, boom. We cannot continue this series on our own dime anymore. And we never actually thought it would actually get this big. And now here we are. And just like all the other people out, just like the other podcasts out there, we're finally having to reach out to the listeners. I just hope we got enough people out there that love the show, that you guys won't mind. And at the same time, I want to give you stuff so you're not just tossing money at me and like I'm some homeless bum on the side of the street. Maybe I could be a panhandler on the side of the street, but I'm going to play you a nice little song. I'm going to earn my donations. I'm going to earn this money, and it's all going back into the project. That's cool, because this project, writing this, doing the recordings, doing all of this, it's a hobby. It's a recreational thing for Lita and me. You're not only helping us keep this series going so you guys can listen to it, but you're also paying for us to enjoy what we're doing. That's incredible. It's all going toward positive energy. This has been a word from Max.